Whether you're a long-time player, a first-timer, or have never played before, Dynasty Fantasy Football is the best way to play fantasy football. There's just so much fun and opportunity in the idea of a fantasy football league that carries year over year, where you never lose progress and always get to keep the same roster you had the year prior. In this video today, I am going to rank the top 25 running backs going forward in Dynasty. So from this 2025 season on, the best 25 running backs. Without further ado, let's roll the intro. So here I've set up a tier list. If you guys want to, on Tier Maker, you guys can play at home and rank your own top 25 or however many running backs I put in this tier list. I believe I put 30, so you don't have to use all top 25, or you could rank all 30 if you'd like. But let's start with the absolute top tier, the tier of running backs that are absolutely him, the ones that you cannot afford to pass up on, the elite commodity. That's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Devon Achane in that order. So now the reason why I have these three, and I'll start by explaining why I have Jahmyr Gibbs over the rest of them. I know that's not a popular pick. The truth is, Jahmyr Gibbs has taken a lot less carries in his career than a Bijan Robinson, who were both drafted in the same class, drafted to be their respective starting running backs. Thanks to David Montgomery, it seems Montgomery has kind of, I don't want to say suppressed, but preserve Jahmyr Gibbs and keep him as good as possible for the future, which makes me believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is the RB1. When you watch him play football, he does amazing things on the field, and so do the rest of these guys in this tier. But being that he has the lowest amount of volume so far, so he can handle the workload later on in his career, and the balance of, knock on wood, knock on whatever, injury concern is not too high for Jahmyr Gibbs in his career so far. That's why I put him in the top tier. I felt like it was almost, I don't want to say safest, but almost well orchestrated, or the full package in a Dynasty running back if you want the top of the top. So that's why he's first. Bijan follows after because obviously has the same skill. Pretty similar numbers, granted that Bijan Robinson has a ton more volume in carries, not so much in receptions. They're not that far apart in that category, but yards per route run and yards per attempt, they're both pretty similar, given that Bijan's would be a little lower, given that he takes more volume. Gibbs is higher because he takes less carries. So those things kind of balance each other out. Bijan Robinson second, and Devon Achane here comes in at number 3. He's still a top commodity, but he is someone that has a little more injury concern, but still has that upside to be a running back that can absolutely dominate your Dynasty leagues. So now let's go to the elite tier. These are the guys that are very good at what they do. They can be high-end running backs because obviously there's more than 3 amazing running backs in the NFL. There's just certain things like decline age, production, or guys that are about to hit the surface. This is where that tier kind of falls in. So these are the elite tier guys. These are Saquon Barkley, Ashton Jeanty, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, and last but not least, Josh Jacobs. These are all players we can argue are amazing running backs. This kind of feels like the territory, say if you were in a 10-man league, these would probably be the first 10 running backs off the board in a Dynasty league. They're all high-end, elite running backs. Some of the guys that are in him tier are a little younger. The reason why Bucky Irving is not in that tier yet is because he just has the Rachaad White in his backfield. He has other pathways to not be him, but certainly you can argue that he's on the path to be at that top tier, but can't really put him over Saquon Barkley yet after just one season. I know Saquon Barkley getting older in age, even though 28, same age as Christian McCaffrey. The production could start to decline, but don't want to put Saquon in him tier because He doesn't have that many seasons left in Dynasty. Bucky Irving could be him, but it felt a little safe to leave him at elite. So that's where we leave elite no matter what team drafts him, like a Ginty, which is why he is in a tier above him. But I know whatever team ends up drafting Hampton will get a really good running back. Where he goes obviously hinders where he ends up in this Dynasty rankings, but assuming a team that's going to need him is going to use a good draft pick on him, he will be a really good running back. Joe Mixon, someone that was elite for years to come, is now just a really, really consistent, really strong start every single week. You can't go wrong with playing him as long as he's healthy, of course. That's always been kind of like a thing. Nothing too crazy, but he's good to miss, 4 or 5 games in a season. That's just how it goes. CMC, another guy who likes to miss a lot of time. Though I mentioned with Saquon, 28 years old, so I'm not going to start predicting that CMC has a rugged downcline in his future or his near future or 2025 rather. I think Christian McCaffrey will be really good as long as he's on the field, but granted, if he's on the field and his age, I don't know if he's worthy of being put in elite tier for Dynasty purposes. If you really want to build your team around a strong running back that's going to be there for you every single week and help you build to be a championship team, I don't know if Christian McCaffrey's super high ceiling and really bottom floor is going to get that job done for you. So that's why he's here. Derrick Henry is in this tier because of age. I understand he just put a phenomenal season up. He probably could do that again, but how many more seasons are you going to get out of that? Is that considered an elite asset in the running back position in Dynasty? I don't think so. He's a hell of a player. There's no doubt about it. Love Derrick Henry. Just don't love him enough to be elite in Dynasty in 2025. Chase Brown, somebody that has the potential to be elite, but for now is a really good draft pick if you need a running back and you missed on the 10 players above. Chase Brown is borderline RB1 going into this year in fantasy football. Probably going to be that really strong RB2 category. That's why he finds himself here. Chase Brown was on a tear at the end of last season. If that would to continue in 2025, then he would obviously be an elite asset. Ken Walker, somebody that's a phenomenal running back, but somebody that came into the NFL a little bit older than some of the other guys in his draft class. He also has a little bit of injury concern, misses games here and there. That's why Zach Charbonnet is such a good asset in fantasy year over year. He's just a type of guy that can pick up the workload when Ken goes down and just play like a starting running back when they need him. But Ken, phenomenal player, has concerns with injury, has concerns with age and durability, so I have to leave him in really good, and his ceiling is probably just really good. James Cook, somebody that could definitely find himself in the elite tier. His offense that he plays in really helps him. The fact that he's going into his 4th season, that also helps. You're going to get a player for the long term, so that's great. James Cook, though, a product of maybe just a good season last year. I wouldn't expect that kind of production where he finished at the back end of the top 10 again, but he can be an RB12, could be an RB15, so he finds himself in that really good tier. And finally, the last group, the bottom of the top 25. These are the final guys that make it. These are the solid starts. These are none other than Chuba Hubbard, David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Robinson Jr., Najee Harris, Quinshon Judkins, and James Conner. Now, the reason why these guys are just solid starts or solid running back draft picks in Dynasty is Chuba Hubbard is a great player, had a phenomenal season last year. We don't know how long he's going to keep his starting job for, but assuming that he has another good season in 2025, can go on elsewhere and have another, half leg of his career where he's good somewhere else. So, solid start for Chuba Hubbard. I think he's a good player. I think he's top 25 at this point when you look at some of the other guys that I left off this list. When you think of the long-term game, he's still relatively young, or at least I should say not old. So Chuba Hubbard finds himself here. David Montgomery finds himself here. And he finds himself here because of age. Otherwise, we could have argued to bump him up a little higher. I don't know how much longer he has in his career. He's taken a lot of carries, a lot of volume. David Montgomery is an absolute stud, though, as long as he's the 1B or 1A to Jahmyr Gibbs, or however you want to debate that. Alvin Kamara comes in here on the back end of his career. When he plays, he's absolutely amazing. We know this. Has injury concerns, went into the 2024 season last year with an injury. Somehow was still amazing regardless of the fact, and nobody really even knew about it for the most part. Tyrone Tracy, the next player, an absolute stud of a rookie. The Giants were very lucky to have hit on this draft pick. They really needed somebody after Saquon Barkley left to give them that juice that they needed in the backfield, and Tyrone Tracy does that. Tyrone Tracy was amazing, can catch passes out of the backfield, is a very good runner, has a nose for the end zone. I think Tyrone Tracy is a good running back draft pick, but not really good or elite. Brian Robinson Jr. finds himself here next. He showed us signs and potential in the past of having a receiving workload. That really did not come to fruition in 2024 last year, but for somebody that is a ground and pound type of guy who can handle the workload, yes, he fumbles here and there sometimes. It happens, but he's still a solid running back for fantasy, and you'll get him for at least a couple years down the line. Najee Harris, someone who's still relatively young. Yes, you view him as a meme, someone that's funny, someone that's absolutely mid. But when you think about his new opportunity with the Chargers and going forward, what that can mean for his career, he may have a chance to have some really good seasons, or at least one season with the Chargers, then move on in free agency and maybe be another complimentary piece somewhere. So I still feel like he can be in that solid tier for now. Quinshon Judkins, we don't really know what team he's going to go to. We don't know if he's guaranteed going to be a starter, but if he were to be a starter, he'd be a solid player. He could be, a Pro Bowler. I'm not trying to hate or bump him down by any means because of the uncertainty of where he can go and what he will look like in the NFL. At this point, Quinshon Judkins is nothing better than a, end of the top 25 guy. So he's still a solid guy, but nothing more than just that. And finally, James Conner, somebody that's been elite for years, somebody that's getting up there in age, but still can produce for you, so that makes him a solid start and finds him at the 25th running back. So these are my top 25. If you guys want to go to Tier Maker, make your own tier list, it will be there. Send me your tiers. We can have a discussion about it. If your tier list looks a little or any different than mine, maybe you hate my tier list, let me know in the comments. And that about wraps up our tier list. If you made it through this entire video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, you like fantasy football content, make sure you subscribe down below. What are you doing? And if it's not your first time here and you are subscribed, thank you so much for coming back and tuning in. I also really appreciate that. Feel free to like the video if you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this tier list video. I will probably make some more for other positions in Dynasty. Maybe we could do it for the regular season too, but you gotta let me know if you want it. You gotta let me know in the comments what you want so I can deliver. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video.